Hello. Let's see. We logged. Okay, that's way better. It's amazing. How are y'all? Everybody's good? Everybody's had a marvelous, magical, momentous Monday? I have, yes. Is it me, or is there more lying on Mondays than other days? Is it me? And then once we hit the 100 days of school being gone, it's even more intensive. So, okay. Yeah, you guys can just put your comments in. I think the kids are ready. Did you darken your hair, Stephanie? It looks really good. I'm thinking about darkening my hair. I darken my hair every morning. My eyebrows. Because, when you're being scary in a meeting, you've got to raise your eyebrows. Is my blush to lip ratio right? Because I know everybody gets concerned about that. So I need to make sure that's right. Oh, we've also voted Cindy's never leaving the county ever again for anything. Ever. I don't care if she thinks she's invited somewhere. It's a no for us.
I feel so loved. I'll show you something really happy.
Oh, that's so good. Are you guys all coming out to the press conference Thursday the 13th at 4 o'clock at the District for the Seminole County Public School Criminals? I think that's what they're called. If you violate children's rights, I think that makes you a criminal. So, yep. So we will all see you there. There's still time if you want to get registered this weekend for our 2-day intensive in person in Orlando. Somebody said, how long can a life skills class be without a SPED teacher? Say it with me. Never. Never. Yep. Are supine restraints legal in Texas? I don't know what supine means. There are requirements on technical restraints that are in Texas. So each state has their own statutes under their administrative code. So you could reach out to your Department of Education and ask for the specificity on restraints in your state. But they don't include seclusion. They don't include standing outside the door and laughing. And they don't include putting a child in a room by themselves and shutting the door. So, all right. Oh, again, Seminole County. We are at 400 Lake Mary Boulevard. Is that right, Elena?
400 East Lake Mary Boulevard, Sanford, Florida.
400 East Lake Mary Boulevard, Sanford, Florida at 400. It'll be 400 o'clock.
400 o'clock. I like that. And I did look up supine restraint. Means the restraint of a student in a face-up position on the student's back, on the floor, or another surface with physical pressure applied to the body of the student to keep the student in a supine position.
I don't even have a response that would get past my pastor, so I won't respond to that. I call that bullshit. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. I'd say, why don't we just educate them instead of restrain them? Why don't we put them in a setting where that we identify the foundational reason that they are having behaviors instead of making children obey and comply and stay in their designated area, knowing that every kiddo's situation is different. Okay.
No idea.
All right. Next questions.
Okay, here we go. Can an IEP be changed without notifying the parent? I found out by talking to a teacher the IEP had changed.
Well, the IEP changes after we have a convened meeting and we have invited all the stakeholders. There are parents that don't attend IEP meetings, but there's a duty and obligation and responsibility of the district to invite them. I think it's 3 documented times.
I have a senior who's graduating and looking at colleges. Any advice for me as the parent?
Well, I mean, that's sort of a big question. So, I mean, you want to make sure that you had a transition supplement in your IEP. That was a federal requirement and a state requirement. So your district should have been putting together a coordinated set of activities to make your student post-secondary successful for gainful employment, independent living, and further education.
Opinion on having a para rotate in and out of self-contained CI every 6 weeks. The school rotates all paras.
I mean, I don't have an opinion about it other than every time you change, you have inconsistency and you don't have gains. I think that happens more of as a control issue from schools, not an education issue.
Mandy would like to know again, please tell me the seminal date and time, please.
It's at 4 p.m. this Thursday, the 13th, 400 East Lake Mary Boulevard, Sanford, Florida. We will be there sharing our concerns with the public.
And that's Eastern Standard Time for our friends that are outside of that time zone.
Yes, we will be Easterning with the Easterners.
A friend's child has a BIP/FBA in the state of Ohio. How often does it have to be updated?
When there's a need to update it. So we update it when there's a change in the behaviors that we're targeting, when the student has mastered those IEP goals. And you can do it simply as an FBR, a functional behavioral review, to make sure that the things that we are targeting are appropriate and that we're mitigating them.
Can a special education student be suspended for 1 day? This is the first day.
Yep, it can be suspended.
Let's see. Do you do one-on-one consultations? I have so many questions.
I do. You can book an hour of coaching with me at Special Education Academy.
What will the possibility of elimination of the Department of Education have on special education?
So I don't have a crystal ball, and if I did, it would be in the shop, not expected to be repaired. When and if any of that happens, then we'll have more information at that point.
I know you can answer this one. Hello, says Mindy. What's your best resource for finding a great advocate for my 2 sons?
You would email us at advocate@specialeducationacademy.com.
How often does that was a duplicate. Good luck getting some special needs kids to stay in one spot. We always look for your advice, and it's very helpful. Okay. Is it public information to request number of one-on-one paras and number of students needing a one-on-one?
No, that's not public information. It's public information to ask the number of children in a room and the number of adults in a room.
How do I deal with a parent who will not send in an AAC device to school for a non-speaking child on an IEP?
Have the school provide an AAC device?
District doubled out-of-placement budget. Next year, I'll cut to the program and send a student out of place. Is this predetermination?
Budget cuts are not part of an IEP decision. Is that what you mean?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Let's see. What is an opinion on a student with autism that is grade level academically, but he is a flight risk and I'm afraid of him leaving?
What's my opinion about that?
Yes.
I mean, I don't have an opinion about a student's disability. Do you have a specific question about his needs?
We shall see if J-Rad clarifies for us.
Okay.
Hey, my son's 504 isn't being followed by the teachers. They are not giving him his extra time for his assignments, and we just don't know what to do.
You would file a federal complaint with the U.S. Department of Education Office of Civil Rights, or you would hire an advocate to do that, or you could invest. We have a training on our website, Special Education Academy. It's 5.5 hours long of how to file an amazing, impactful Office of Civil Rights federal complaint.
Is it legal for an LEA to sign as an LEA general education teacher.
Not unless the LEA's name is Sybil. That's not funny. No, I had that the other day. Somebody was going to be the dyslexia teacher and the special education teacher. Pick a lane, people. Pick a lane.
What are your thoughts on mastery criteria of only 60% on a goal?
So master criteria is acquisition of a skill. So it's not a grade. If that's appropriate for what the student can gain based on their baseline and a year of specially designed instruction, I'm fine with that.
Students are receiving adaptive PE as a direct service, but adaptive PE teacher doesn't meet their goals. What do we do?
So student doesn't meet the goal. So if the related or instructional service provider is delivering instruction and it's not mastering the goal, then we need to look at modification of how we deliver the goal, the frequency, the location, the duration, the expectation, the criteria, all of those things.
Special education boss, what do you do if it's been over 60 days and there was no response for an FBA?
Oh, I wouldn't have waited 60 days, but I would start emailing daily until I got a response. I'm a really good person at getting a response. It's a gift I have.
Oh, yes, ma'am. The school that my grandson attends wants to move him to another school because they have more resources there. Do we have to go?
I would want to go wherever my child could be best served. You don't have to do anything, but I would certainly take that all day long.
How do you get your child help with math in their IEP? He is in first grade.
Well, first you have to have an identified deficit in the present levels, and the present levels drive IEP goals and then corresponding service.
Can the state mandate the location of services for related services, general ed versus special ed?
No, I mean, that's decided in the meeting. Where's the most appropriate place to deliver those? So if we're in a self-contained setting, it might be more appropriate for the speech pathologist to go inside of that setting, or music therapy, but it depends on this. It's all individualized. The state doesn't set that.
What happens after 10 days and an MDR determines manifestation of disability? What happens next?
So they determined that your child's action was direct correlation to his disability. Then there should either be no disciplinary action or something greatly reduced, not aligned with the student code of conduct. And let me just say, everybody asking me about the Department of Education, listen, love, I don't have a crystal ball. It hasn't happened. I am not going to project my opinion, what I think should or shouldn't happen. But we are happy to answer any other questions. I don't know what will happen in the future. I'm not a future knower.
Someone said, you're proof that angels do exist. Thank you for all that you do.
Thank you. I'm a lot of things. Not an angel, but I will be an advocate for these kids for the entirety of my life.
Yes. The FBA BIP for a third grader has not been updated since kindergarten, and the behaviors are intensifying. What should I do?
Well, I don't know who the I is, but if we have a product that's not working for the student, we need to pivot. It's not rocket science. We don't just leave it and go, well, that didn't work. So that's what teachers do. We make changes and adjustments.
Someone wanted you to know that they have continuously told their admin of the SPED laws being broken, and the admin refused to address anything, and she was reassigned.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Can my disabled child that I homeschool still utilize public school resources? For example, speech. I'm in Alabama.
So let me just clarify. There is no requirement under the law for a public school to provide you any part of an IEP. It's not an IDEA. It's not any state statute. That being said, they may provide you that. So it's one of the considerations. We can pull our kids and homeschool them. We can send them to a private school, or we can do public school. So because your child is not enrolled in a public school, which is completely fine, that's your decision, they don't receive funding for that at the state or the federal level. And so that's something that's always tenuous, right? Am I going to be able to receive those related or instructional services? And then additionally, you have to provide your student to that campus when those services are provided. I had a family that I loved dearly and did not want their child to go to school anymore. The district continued to provide them speech services, but denied them vision services. And so that's part of it, right? We get to choose, but we don't necessarily get to choose the legal response.
So we have several people with the same topic. The school has no inclusion teachers. They've either quit or they've moved. And paras are providing instructional support and supplemental supports. They've heard you speak about it before, but now it's relevant to them and they're listening.
Okay. So the law is immovable. I am immovable. I file complaints, unfortunately, all week long, every week, as do my partner advocates. And here's what's happening. When schools are found non-compliant, you know what happens? Lo and behold, that school district, for that student in that setting, finds a special educator. And so if you want change in your district, if you want your child to be delivered the totality of their IEP, when their rights are violated, file an effective state complaint. Visiting about it will change nothing.
Can a child receive an IEP if they are still struggling in math after receiving interventions, but the interventions are not working?
Yeah, I mean, a child can receive an IEP if that's what they need to be successful.
Can you help with children in Arizona?
Arizona, all the ONAs. Yeah, Kodiak Islands, Miami, Massachusetts, San Diego. We advocate from sea to shining sea.
Is a school district required to provide special education post-secondary services no matter what?
Did you say they're required to provide special education post-secondary services no matter what? I'm not.
Correct.
I don't know. I'm not really sure what that means. Post-secondary services. I would need some more framework around that.
We'll see if Darren certifies for us. Okay. Are safety plans the same as an IEP or a 504?
No, a safety plan is a safety plan. So I have children that are orthopedic impaired, and so we write a safety plan if there's a reason to leave the school, if there is a lockdown at the school, if there's a fire at the school, those sorts of things.
This question, I'm condensing it. How could a school handle a middle school special ed student mainstreamed into general ed classes that refuses to go to their classes?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the, we have limitations in public school, right? So I can't make a child get up and go to school when they're a junior high. Most junior high kids are fully grown. We don't want to put hands on them, whether we're parents or grandparents or school-based members. Schools are amazing and do amazing things for kids. But if the student won't move to the next room, then he won't move to the next room. And then we need to talk about next steps to provide him an education.
Does it make sense that a student who is considered mild mod to have a one-on-one without having it in a PIP?
So you probably don't want to hear my answer. I'm not a fan of any student having a one-on-one. I'm not a fan of that. If a student needs a one-on-one, then it's so hard to tease out the data. I'm not a fan of states calling children mild mod, severe mod. I don't, you have a disability and we talk about the characteristics of that disability. So I would wonder why he needs a one-on-one and at what points during the day could I fade that?
I'm at a loss. What do I do if a SPED student who has a BIP is making death threats daily towards staff and other kids? I don't know what to do.
You would do a risk assessment for that student and look at an appropriate placement for him to be so that he's not at risk for himself or the other kids.
Okay. Oh, Mark Jimenez, one of my favorite. What happens to the AAC device and iPad with AT apps when they're outplaced, district funded?
Yeah, so his communication device goes with him. You don't get to keep that. You don't get to take that away. Surely you're not going to do something that silly. Although I sit in meetings all day long with people doing very silly stuff, and not silly love songs, silly stuff.
You mean you want them to continue to communicate, boss? Okay. School insists ASD son's issues are behavioral and things are escalating since implementing the BIP. What do I do?
Well, I don't know who the I is. Is the I a parent or the I is a teacher?
I believe it is a parent.
Yeah. So, I mean, if we have a student that's unsuccessful, we implement a plan and give it some time to be delivered. Sometimes things get worse before they get better. That's not unusual. But you have to give the school an opportunity to deliver that specially designed instruction.
What can be done about uncertified teachers in special education self-contained classes?
You would file a state complaint 300.323.
Okay. Let me scroll. I am enjoying listening to this as a para, and I am learning a lot. I will be tuning in every week.
Oh, good. Thank you.
In Texas, the dyslexia teacher could very well also be the SPED case manager. Is this okay?
It would be very rare that a dyslexia teacher would be the case manager. But yeah, I mean, that could happen.
Several people want to know, how do they submit questions?
Type them on your typer thing.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Is the school required to provide special education services to homeschool students?
No, they're not students in the public school.
If I don't want to be the teacher of record for another class, do I have any rights not to be the teacher of record?
Well, you're not the teacher of record if you're not with the class. So, you're the teacher on somebody else's record. Maybe it was a cassette player, not a record.
What are you doing this presidential weekend?
I am going to the land of humidity. So Thursday, February 13th, we'll be doing a press conference in Seminole County. And then we will be doing a 2-day live in person or 2-day intensive, the 15th and 16th in Orlando.
My son has an ADHD and anxiety with interventions in his IEP for it, but no FBA. Should he have an FBA?
He should have an FBA if he has behaviors that cannot be handled solely by the current staff.
Let's see. Hang on. That's a duplicate. Can my parent decide not to work with a certain student?
I don't think so.
Oh, what about a private school having to provide an IEP or 504? Do they have to do that?
Nope, private schools are not bound by IDEA.
Can a student do both intervention and POR if intervention alone has not proven growth over 2 years?
I don't know what the acronym stands for. EOR.
POR.
I don't know what that means.
POR. Well, let's see if we can get some clarification on that, because I certainly want to know. Let's see. Nope. Duplicate. Should a special education teacher provide students with assignments tailored for students in regular education classes?
They should provide the educational product that was agreed upon in the codified IEP.
How will special education... The school is denying to follow the requirements of my son's doctor's emergency plan for 504 allergies. Would this be an OCR filing?
If it's part of his 504 and the school's not implementing it, yes. So I'm gonna just address another question. We're just take a breather here real quick. Everybody breathe in. I certainly didn't say I wouldn't discuss political. There's no point in discussing something that hasn't occurred. I know plenty of people online who are fear mongers. I am not a fear monger. What I do know about the Rehabilitation Act of 1973 and Special Education Act of December 1975 is that there wasn't even a Department of Education for 4 more years. So will the money go back to the states? Possibly. I don't know. So me giving you my opinion on something that hasn't occurred would be a waste of your time and my time. I am here to support children that have disabilities and need services in public schools. But your civil rights aren't going away. Your federal acts aren't going away. So I do not work in Washington. I know everybody has an opinion about it, and you should have your opinion, but it's not something we're going to discuss here.
What happens if the behavior support program can't handle my child's behavior? My son is 10 and they cannot handle him.
Then we have to consider out-of-district placement.
My son is getting twice a week Cunningham or OG. Help from,
I'm sorry.
Reading help from a specialist. Is there any way I can get more for him?
So more doesn't make it better. Mo does not make it better, right? We deliver a service or a therapy, and then we work on GMF, generalization, maintenance, and fluency. So most schools have a standard protocol, anywhere between 15 to 45 minutes a day, usually 4 days a week. But I want to deliver that support or that curriculum and then work on generalization, maintenance, and fluency.
Can you tell me when the Special Education Academy is?
It is at 8 p.m. Central every Monday of your amazing life.
My life was definitely more amazing since I joined the academy.
Yeah, and since you got back on land without being with the lunatics this weekend, I think that we need to have Cindy have a 2-day intensive about what is a vacation, because she's definitely confused. I think that we need to dismantle Cindy's vacations. That's what needs to be dismantled. We'll do that this weekend.
That sounds wonderful. And a capital C in the confused, for sure.
You have the highest pain tolerance of any human on the planet I've ever met. Like, I'm pretty sure 14 days ago you said, I would never do that again. Next thing you know, bye-bye. Okay, Felicia. Anyway, when you were at sea, we all voted. We took a secret vote. So we're taking your passport.
Oh, I'm okay with that because we had to put a scooter all the way back to the tip when it ran out of electricity. Okay. My CAPE transition and annual IEP is coming up. May I ask for an FBA and a BIP without an ABA?
ABA is not attached to an FBA. So an FBA is a functional behavior assessment. A behavior intervention plan is needed if the findings of the FBA conclude that.
Okay, let's see. How do I get an advocate in Florida against requiring MTSS to meet eligibility for OHI?
You know, I think it's the state of Florida that I am obsessed with. But I think because the whole state is on a sand barge, you know what happens when you build a house on sand. But we all, my partners and myself, we have lots of clients in Florida. So if you would like for us to represent you, just send us an email to advocate@specialeducationacademy.com.
Awesome. ESY. How to best align behavior and social skills deficit as a qualifying factor.
What? There's no qualifying factors based upon that. ESY has 2 prongs. Number 1, documented regression with a profound amount of time to recoup a skill. Number 2, concern for loss of critical skills. ESY is not to gain, it's to maintain.
My child is being targeted by another student, kicking and hitting her almost daily. Nothing is being done. What can I do?
If that was happening to my child, I would pick up the phone and call Child Protective Services. The adults are not keeping your child protected.
Do schools have to make an IEP or 504 plan if you get a dyslexia diagnosis?
A dyslexia eligibility? So we're looking
Yes.
at eligibilities, right? So they have to make the plan that's most appropriate to address the student's unique circumstances.
Can an SLP service 6 kids in a music class in elementary school?
Can she do her speech services in the music classroom? If the music classroom's empty, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. Teacher has data to support a child's moving to a co-taught classroom, but the parent refuses. What are your thoughts on this?
So the LEA puts forth the offer of FAPE, and if the parent disagrees with it, then you collaborate and we talk about different, documentation and data points. But if that is what the school believes is the offer of FAPE, you offer it. Parent disagrees, you're by law required to reconvene 10 days later or at a mutually agreed upon time. If the parent disagrees the second time, whatever the LEA proposes happens.
What exactly do I do if the school responds by saying they do not have enough staff to meet the needs of my students?
So it's really inappropriate that you would discuss staffing with myself or my client. That has nothing to do with crafting an IEP under IDEA.
What RBT's plan of care doesn't align with an IEP? What would I do?
Not use it.
Is it true you cannot get a kindergarten student evaluated for special education?
Well, that's goofy, since we evaluate 2.5-year-olds. Goofy, I tell you. Goofy. Is that with 2 E's? Goofy? Is it like French? Goofy. I tell you, we just, you know what? I'm so proud to be a college dropout as I listen to credentialed people all day long with their credentialing. Whew. Sorry. You know what? After 100 days of school, I've gone from a Cheeto Puff to Crunchy. And I'm about to go to Flaming Hot next month. I'm just going to say that for the record.
Like a Taki. Okay. What do you do when they take it out on your child for filing a complaint?
Oh, you don't want to do that with me. You'd get a press conference. You'd get a TikTok. I would go live if I had 1 follower on Facebook. Literally at the bottom of the OCR letter, it says, hello, school district, hello. Is this thing on? Remember, you don't have the right to retaliate against the complainant, the parent, or the student. Yeah, what Brad said. You don't want to do that with me. You don't want that. This is not just smoke. It's fire. I can't say that or they'll stop the live. So let's not say the word fire anymore. We'll stick with smoke.
Oh, okay.
We'll stick with smoke.
Good to know.
Somebody asked me, do I have any references for parents who are handling due processes on their own? I would say you are up against a mountain because the school has every legal right and legal processes that you may not know about. And it's going to be very hard to overcome a law firm with a school district. However, that's your legal right. But it's a hard hill to climb. Somebody said the government should hire me to run the Department of Education. We would have snacks, lots of sugar, lots of salt, lots of caffeine, back combs, hairspray, and a pop and lip color. We would be fun. Yeah.
All the things.
All the things.
NDAs for compensatory education. Yay or nay?
So an NDA is if you're, Sean Puffy Combs. We're not a celebrity that has an NDA. So settlements are usually confidential. And that's the understanding of a settlement. So I'm a certified mediator for the family courts here in Houston. So when I have a settlement with the district, we agree that it's confidential. Why? Because a settlement that I get for Stephanie and her child wouldn't be an appropriate settlement for Cindy and her child. And so I respect and honor confidentiality in agreed upon settlements.
Can I file a complaint as an employee? Not a parent, but I'm noticing the major gaps as a para.
If you'd like to keep your job, I wouldn't do that. If you would like to file and then lose your job, you can come and we'll train you to be a gangster from the outside in.
Can you send a child home for 3 months without services?
Yep. The child could be expelled from the school. Yep.
Oh, I wish we had these advocate services when I was in school. Thank you for what you do.
Absolutely. Well, we love y'all. And when we get it right for the child, we get it right for everybody.
Truth. What is proportionate share?
I don't know. You guys, let's not do the trick questions. I don't know what proportionate. Look at my hair. What do I know about proportionate?
Absolutely.
That was funny, Cindy. That was funny. I know you've been at sea. You don't remember comedy.
Sometimes I
do want to say something about education. Remember when we opened up all those honky tonks and casinos and scratch offs? How all that money was going to help education? Where? Who that? Who's got that money? Where's that dough?
Yes.
What you doing?
That was when.
Where you at?
My sister, 1991.
Yeah, I don't gamble because I want to keep my money. But where's all that dough? The lottery. The lottery. LOTREE. The lottery.
That was great. Hey, how would parents know if their child's special education teacher was certified or not?
They would go to their Department of Education and type in, "Dear Ding Dong, is Miss Ding Dong a special educator in the state of amazingness?" And it'll say, "Yep," or they'll go, "We don't know who you're talking about." Yes, Karen really did miss Cindy. Not as much as Cindy missed Karen, though, I can tell you that.
Truth from your mouth to above.
To above, to God's ears, right?
Yes. Proof. Hey, I requested testing in August. I had to reach out again in November. How long could this process take?
Not 26 school weeks. You want to hear something happen today? Do y'all want to hear something? Lean in.
Yes.
So this student mastered her IEP goals. Say it with me. In May. A different instructional year. Do you want to know what the assistant director said? We just wanted to give her a little time to make sure that it sticks. I didn't know we were doing Velcro. What? I said, you know that you have an obligation to write new IEP goals if they're mastered. No, we just wanted to make sure it sticks. It's about to stick. About to stick with the state.
Like gum on the bottom of your shoe. What is your best tip that you would give a special education teacher?
Thank you for laying down your lives for somebody else's kid. That is the most amazing thing. And the fact that you have the opportunity and blessing to change somebody's entire future, what a gift. I know that your conditions are not always wonderful and you're not honored, but we honor you and we thank you.
My child's classroom, should I file an OCR if school denies the doctor's order for an allergen-free classroom?
No. You would deny that you were denying meaningful participation and you were denied IEP team membership during the meeting, and the school's decisions were predetermined and they were banana heads. I don't know what the banana head statute is, but it's way at the back. That's a state complaint.
Ooh, I hit the wrong button. What are the next steps for a middle school student who just refuses to go to class?
We have to have a conversation about that. That's not an option, right? Not going to class in a public school is not an option. We need to have a conversation about that. We need to have a conversation about, is public school an appropriate educational setting for him anymore?
Best tips for a para that is working with a visually impaired student. I'm the one-on-one para with this child and want to do my best.
So thank you. We love paras. And listen, all the paras out there, email your principal tonight and said, Karen said you should double my bonus. Just email that right now. It'll go into effect. So if you have a visually impaired student, you want to first make sure that they have an ECC, an expanded core curriculum that addresses all 9 areas of expanded core curriculum. You want to make sure that their VI supplement shows that they're learning media in the correct order, and you want to make sure which goals that you're attached to, and that VI, the CTVI, the Certified Teacher of the Visually Impaired, is giving you really good, clean directives, and that you are getting all those materials that you need to support that student. Somebody says, I got jokes. They don't even know, that I really do have jokes. Like I'm a celebrity comedian. So Stephanie will type this in. So if you want to watch my comedy special, you would go to the YouTube. Have you heard of that? And type in Karen Mayer Cunningham dry bar comedy. I'm not just talented. I'm good looking.
Use the restroom before you watch because you laugh hard. I respect you a lot. Thank you for what you do.
Oh, thank you.
Why are you not a fan of a one-on-one? I don't understand. Help me understand.
Yeah, because there's diluted data. When I am on a child's hip all day long, it creates learned dependency. It creates obsessive behaviors with that person. It is not the best instructional model. Does that need to happen sometimes? Yes, but I think it becomes a fear default for schools and parents. And then I don't know what learning is going on. I have never in 28 years found a child that needed a one-on-one for the entire instructional day, all 375 minutes. So we need to go in there and look, where can I fade that? If he's sitting there watching a video, enjoying it with the class, then he doesn't need a one-on-one for that 5 minutes. If he's likes carpet time and dancing in the morning, he doesn't need a one-on-one. And so it's not individualized when we do it all day long. So deliver that instruction and then fade that support. I have a school full of students with one-on-ones. Well, I don't know where they got the money for that, Brad. If they got money for that, they got money to hire special educators.
What are the alternatives to token systems for a student to interact with non-disabled peers?
What? A token system is rewarding a child for expected behaviors. It has nothing to do with interacting with peers. So sometimes we have to set up those interactions, whether it's at lunch, at recess, an appropriate time. But just like somebody teaches us math, somebody has to teach that student that skill.
What other ways are there to watch the 2-day intensive other than coming to Florida? I live out of state.
You could just be sitting in your bathtub and you could watch the 2-day on demand. So we already have the 2-day on demand. You can take that at your pace, at your leisure. That's what Elena would say, at your leisure. I'd say leisure because I'm from Texas. And then you have it forever.
Forever.
Oh, I just want to say, Elena, I did a podcast last week with a guy in London. His name was Elliot Bowl. And he said, when we're done with, I said, can I get a copy of the podcast? He goes, yes, but my producer will first have to crisp it up. I was like, what a great word. Like bacon. He's going to crisp it up. I like that. I'm going to do that. I'm going to crisp up this IEP because it's undercooked. Yeah.
It's undercooked. That is awesome. I'm incubated. What should a classroom teacher do if their students are not getting their minimum number of minutes and hours?
What should the teacher do?
Yes.
Reach out to their leadership who will lead them in an area to fix that.
What are the next steps if the EC director is choosing to place a student without parents' consent?
Well, first you don't have a convened meeting if, I don't know if is the parent not there, or the parent disagrees. So if you disagree with a new placement, you have 5 school days to not waive your rights, and you can look at filing a due process hearing, which would put a stay put in place, meaning whatever last codified IEP was agreed upon stays. Thanks for the gifts, you guys. Is there like a little hairspray bottle people could send up? Is there a little back comb? I feel like that should be an emoji.
Absolutely, and lipstick too.
I know there's a lipstick. There's definitely lipstick.
Okay, we're gonna have to check into that.
Yes.
How do I insist that my autistic's ADHD son's diagnosis be listed at the top of his IEP instead of DD? I believe they meant eligibility.
So a diagnosis is not an eligibility. So you could have a diagnosis without rising to the level of needing specially designed instruction. So you would make sure that, I feel like this is from Florida. Why do I feel like that? You would make sure that the school does educational evaluations to look to see if that would be an eligibility. I had the DD ding dongs last week in Florida. I was like, ugh. And it was all your friends, Cindy. Ugh.
Oh,
I wanted
so
to say at the end of the meeting, I wanted to say so bad, am I going to see you guys next Thursday? But because I'm grown-ish, I didn't say that. But, they were thinking it.
absolutely. The northern Florida, the central Florida, and the southern Florida, they're all getting their Karen minutes in.
They are getting their Karen minutes.
Are consultation minutes for specialized academic instruction a real thing?
You mean teachers talking to each other? I guess it is. I had a teacher tell me the other day, I said, so do you provide specially designed instruction to the students? She goes, I visit with the teacher when we're on breaks. I'm going to go with no. Today I was in a meeting and they wouldn't answer me. Yes, no. So I just kept going, yes, yes, no, yes. Okay, I guess what I said is right. Oh! Then they were like, let's go here. It was the sound of silence.
I love that. What is needed for an adaptive behavior classroom? Teacher qualifications?
So an adaptive behavior classroom is a self-contained classroom to address students that have behavior needs that are primacy. So they would need to be a special educator to be the head teacher in a self-contained room.
What time are we stopping, boss?
At 10 till.
10 till. Got it. Have you ever found difficulty with the Department of Education's failing to implement pendency services, i.e., Las Vegas versus New York City DOE?
So, there's different cases. So usually when the Department of Education itself brings a case against a school district, it's not being brought by an advocate or an attorney. So there's a huge case in United Los Angeles that was found years ago. What I do know is that we don't have that many people that are investigators for the Department of Education. Right now, about 2,500 investigators for 50 states. So those numbers aren't very good. But, the Department of Education is not a fast-moving entity. I can tell you that. Their processing speed is not as fast as mine.
I am a new educational audiologist. Can I learn more about expanded core curriculum in your program?
Yeah. So we certainly touch on ECC in the 2-day intensive. Absolutely.
I am the one with the visually impaired AU student. How can I help with obsessive behaviors?
That's a unique combination, autism and a visual impairment. So we have to be very careful that what we classify as obsessive behavior is not a sensory response to their world. So, not a fan of schools trying to get kids that have autism to stop stemming, trying to get kids that are visually impaired not to rock. That's offensive. So it's a characteristic of their disability. Whether or not it makes other people uncomfortable to watch is not something we mitigate.
If my son was pulled to a 504 from his IEP, is there a way to get him back on his IEP?
So many descriptive words, pulled. So, you get into special ed one way with special education evaluations.
Now, let's see. And our last one will be, is it over the free 1-month trial in the academy?
Is it over?
Is it over?
So, if you're a parent of a child with a disability, and you would like your first free month to the academy, and you're not a member, then if you email us at Advocate@Special Education Academy, we will get you that code. So, love you guys. We will see you. We're going to be live on the TikTok at 4 p.m. Eastern from the great people at Seminole County, Florida. So you don't want to miss that. Otherwise, we will see. Hey, Megan Bassett. Otherwise, we will see you next week. And remember, you get it right for the child, you get it right for everybody. And remember, don't be afraid. There's no point in being afraid. We follow real information. All right, bye, you guys.